The meeting will be starting in a minute. We just have a little issue with the computer here inside the meeting room, so we'll be starting in a few minutes.
Well, some of them.
Yeah, it didn't work when I tried it too, so.
This meeting is being recorded.
7:37, and start the meeting with the pledge of allegiance. Sarah, would you like to lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God.
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, before the roll call, I just have a question that was just brought to my attention before the meeting, is that the notice of this meeting says April 11th. Today is April 13th.
April 13th.
So I don't,
Is this a regular meeting?
yeah,
So if it's a regularly scheduled meeting, I mean, you have a somewhat defective notice, but at the same time, it's a regular meeting. So I don't think it's a fatal error. Because again, if it was a special meeting, I think 100% it would be a problem. But you have established a schedule of regular meetings that you meet regularly on this day, right? This Thursday, the second Thursday of each month. So I think because of that, although there's some confusion that could result, it was noticed for a day earlier. It's noticed for the 11th and not in.
Yeah.
So it's,
I mean, previously, like,
And it was, here it is, posted on it, or stamped in on the 12th.
I mean, my thought would be that you're okay. It's certainly, a confusing notice, but at the same time, a regular meeting. So you have a right to meet on their regular meeting date. I don't think the Scribner's error would lead to a fatal defect that would make this an invalid meeting. Because it is a regular meeting on its proper day and time.
okay, I don't, so it doesn't, so there are exceptions to it being posted properly?
There's a Scribner's error. There's an error in what the date is meant, but there is a posting of regular meeting dates so that the board is allowed to set regular meeting dates and that we are on the proper day for the regular meeting.
It's all about public notice, John. So
I mean, I will say, if the
Yeah,
board,
yeah.
if the board,
Yeah,
I mean, if you want, listen, at any time, anyone could challenge FOI, through FOI, right? So is it
Yeah.
possible someone can challenge and say, I was confused, I thought the meeting was going to be 2 days earlier, and because it didn't occur, I felt that it wasn't going to occur at all? It's, of course, anything's possible. So I will say, if we think there's a very real possibility that this has caused confusion to the extent that it's going to result in the public being confused, certainly we have the ability to schedule a special meeting, right, in a day or more and redo it. I don't think necessarily that a Scribner's error, simply a mistaken date in a regular meeting makes it a fatal error. If I had to defend that, right, I believe there's a basis to defend it because it's a regularly scheduled meeting that happens the second Thursday of every month. But I would leave it to the board's discretion, right? I would have to say, as the legislators, ultimately, you guys are responsible for the public. And if you really feel this has caused confusion where someone would think that your regular meeting date didn't occur, wasn't supposed to occur on its regular day and time, then I mean, it's the safer route.
Right, it's the 11th and it's posted on, and it's checked in on the 12th, so
I mean-
it's up to you. You guys
No,
want to schedule a new?
like, I would like to hear all these presentations. I don't know if I feel comfortable voting on, because there's been other meetings that have been improperly noticed where we had to move the date or listen to whatnot. Does anybody else have thoughts?
It's up to you, whatever the pleasure you guys want to do. If you want to postpone this to another,
I don't want any controversy about it.
no, I don't either.
I mean, you could have a special meeting Monday, even if it's just Zoom, but people are here for presentations. so
Right.
at least
I would
we
like
can-
to listen to the
I would like to
presentation.
listen to all the
You
presentations.
certainly can conduct this without taking action and reserve your action until a rescheduled meeting. As long as this other comports with FOI in all other ways, and at this point, it would be filing an agenda, I believe you'd be fine. Filing minutes after this meeting.
Something and then it's move after that, you know what I mean?
So that may be your approach is don't,
It's probably a
So you want-
safer action.
you
So
can,
hear the presentations out, go through the,
exactly.
And then,
you know, and
then
then
it is
have
a
a-
special meeting.
Yeah, deliberation.
Just you'll still file minutes from this meeting as as it was a meeting, but you can delay your actual action, your actual votes to make decisions. Until your special meeting. Good.
And the meeting begins.
So
Well, and that we're just hearing a lot of these things the first time tonight, this probably will allow us to digest a bit of this information before.
Does that sound good? They'll have a Zoom meeting maybe Monday night on these things?
Yeah,
I think Monday would be good because student panel is on the agenda for planning and zoning for
the
Tuesday.
spoon paddles on, well,
How's everybody's schedule for Monday?
are you available on Monday night if there's a Zoom meeting? Sure. Okay, and is Barbara, you on?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Would you be available Monday evening?
What's the date? Because actually. hang on.
17th.
I can see it. This is 17th. Yeah, I'm good.
6:30, sir, or what time do we usually go? Is there any other meetings? sir?
Oh, yeah, let's.
Yes, very important. And thank you, Christine.
Oh, God, we have the team, yeah.
So what time is the?
Oh, that's at 6, so 7 will probably. Because we won't add anything else to you.
That should be
We only
pretty-
have a few things to vote on. It would be a long meeting, but.
Should be quick.
So 7 o'clock,
All right, let's try
Being a
that.
sponsor.
Oh,
No, it's community.
Oh, community.
We got it from this side. Yeah, Father.
All right, so we'll set up a special meeting for April 17th at 7 PM. You guys are in favor of that? You guys good with that? Sarah, good?
I think so. I will confirm, but yeah.
Okay, so Mark, we'll get that out. And then,
Is it okay if I do the agenda? Or?
yeah, so we get that. Put these things that are on this agenda. So it's gonna be Scoots and Paddle, Greenway Lighting, fire marshal office reorganization. So we can't vote on the tax board, or no, tax refund generator.
We'll duplicate this agenda.
Yeah.
It'll be everything. It'll be it should be
Yeah.
identical agenda, Mayor.
Yep. Okay, all right, so we'll do it, but with the right date. Okay,
Yeah.
on the 17th. Yep, okay. We missed it, so. All right. I just saw it right now. All right, so we're gonna pledge allegiance. We're gonna do a roll call right now.
Ms. DeGenero,
Here,
Mr. Gatto,
Excuse.
Ms. Gazowski,
Here.
Mr. Capolo.
Here.
Mr. Giovanni.
Here.
Mr. Sill.
Here.
Mr. Hyder.
Here.
Mr. Sampson,
Excused.
Mr. Sharkey.
Here.
Records to reflect there are 7 members present.
Okay, additions, deletions, correction, and adoption of the agenda. The only thing I had was a 7.3, remove 7.3 presenters away. Expect to be able. So remove that. And I was gonna add a 7.3, a public safety in the city of Derby, muffler, exhaust, noise, conversation, potential, action on it,
And add that for Monday night.
but we can still
Yeah,
talk
that's
about it. We have people here that want to talk about it, so. And that's all I have. If you have anything else. Then. Okay, I have a motion to accept those changes.
I don't think there's any motions. 'cause it's-
Oh, that's right. So we're just gonna add that. Okay. So
We're gonna delete rise up and add, what's the,
it's gonna be a public safety in the city of Derby, muffler, exhaust, noise, mufflers on vehicles, potential ordinance and action. But it's just gonna be discussion tonight.
you're gonna have those names?
We could do that for, yeah, you know what? I can have them add that for Monday for Sterling Opera House committee names. So we'll add that to put it on there. And then, Brian, you want to be on that?
Yes.
Gino?
Yeah.
Okay, so those two right off the bat, Mark, Gino and Brian, and then I'll give you the names for the other ones. For the committee.
I
All right,
have a
so-
question, Mayor, before you go
Yes.
further, it's Barbara.
Yes,
Are you adding on that discussion of the muffler order discussion?
we're gonna
for
add
tonight?
that for tonight and then for discussion for you guys, and then I will have corporate counsel advise us on if we need more from above state statute.
Okay, so Attorney Marini, we have to vote on the addition, so that doesn't seem possible to me.
Okay, so we can't add
To
that.
me. I'm
No,
asking.
I mean, I want to be understood, Alderwoman DeGenero. I think that remember, my holding is this. Look, you have a Scribner's error. It's very clear on this agenda for tonight. It's Thursday, right? It says 11th instead of 13th, but everywhere else I'm seeing online has the correct date. I think this is really a very low concern. However, out of an abundance of caution, I agree. Why not be overly transparent and just make sure we're doing it right, with that special meeting? But in terms of tonight, besides the actual action items on approving anything, I would treat it like a normal meeting. We're going to have minutes like a normal meeting. I think we would take normal motions like a normal meeting as a matter of procedure to make sure everything flows orderly. But I don't think there's any concern about that. But we're out of an abundance of caution, we're going to have that special meeting for any action items. That way, there's absolutely no doubt in the credibility of the actual action we take on something like the lease or pursuant to a grant. But a motion to let someone speak or something be added to our talk tonight, that's absolutely fine.
Okay.
And plus, we're all here right
Want
now,
the
so
record.
this way come Monday, we can kind of go right to it, hopefully. Okay? All right. Sounds good. All right, so the additions and deletions, so we're gonna add that. And number 5, we'll do public portion. Anybody from the public would like to speak?
Yes, this is Peg Lee from Gemini Software. I'd like to speak for 3 minutes.
Go ahead, Peggy.
Okay, thank you. Attended an alderwoman meeting not that long ago. There was some talk about, or on the agenda, was actually switching to a new software vendor QDS. After that meeting, we had put together a response based on some false information that was presented to the aldermen and alderwomen. And no action was taken that evening. Since then, our company has received a letter from an attorney that says we will not be renewing our contract. When we left the meeting, at least it was my thought that we wanted to try and do this the right way, and that we would be able to come forward and present a demo of our software. And I thought there were some recommendations of waiting for a permanent finance person. But I was a little bit thrown off in that we received a letter from the attorney that said our contract would end the end of June. And so I just, feel a little bit uncomfortable. It wasn't what we walked away thinking would happen. And so I just came tonight to express that. We've been with you many years. We've enjoyed working with the town. Unfortunately, I think there's been a lot of misinformation presented, and we had hoped to give a demo to show what we can do. And that's all I want to say. I'm not here to badmouth a vendor or anything like that. I just want to say that I'm a little disappointed on what we've seen take place since then. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody else from the public like to speak? Fred, you have your hand up?
Frederick Nebraska, 216 Derby Avenue, Derby. Real quick, I've heard that the state is going to be redoing some Route 8. And I'd even like to see the Route 8 entrance from Seymour Ave to Route 8 North either closed or heavily modified. The last time the state was there, all they did was raise the bridges up. I thought that they were going to widen Route 8 through that little stretch going under. I believe it's Smith Street. I could be wrong.
The one next to the canyon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's COG, the DOT is in the process of working on that.
Yeah, that's a disaster. Something needs to be done or it needs to be closed. I usually get on Route 8 at near the Home Depot, 34, take Route 8 North.
That's part of the, Fred, that's part of the plan that they're doing right now.
But I'm just saying, I get on there and as I pass by that Route 8 entrance for Seymour Ave, I've had to hit the brakes a number of times, swerve a number of times because people, just the way they come on. Some people sit there and wait. Some people just barge right in. And it's an accident waiting to happen. Secondly, the muffler noise. We're coming up on 10 years of the Boston Marathon shooting, but also that day there was a drive-by shooting at my neighbor's house next door. Yeah, so anyway, what I'm referring to as far as these mufflers go, some of these new little Honda mufflers make a real loud noise sounding quite like a gunshot. And the other day, I was out front of my house and it really stressed me out because God only knows when one of these days, one of those noises will be a real gunshot. On Pleasant Street, Derby Avenue, glad the house is torn down. Thank you very much for getting it down. But can we make that intersection safer? A lot of times people will be traveling on 115 North and they take the right onto Mount Pleasant Street. And a lot of them end up putting their cars in reverse to try to get back onto Mount Pleasant Street or something like that. So it's a very steep, very sharp turn that most vehicles cannot make. I've actually seen a box truck come off of Pleasant Street, taking the left, and it got stuck. I tried taking pictures, but the truck drivers came after me.
And Fred, really quick, a lot of these are great in their LTA issues, which I'm going to direct you to go over to the police commission. And I think signage right there is going to do good for Mount Pleasant Street. I understand what you're talking about.
Cool.
I made that left turn once, I'll never do it again.
Cool. Okay, and then real quick, I've heard that 2 pieces of our fire equipment are down and are not going to be repaired. Great that if our taxes come down, but I do not want our insurance rates going up because. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Anybody else from the public?
Sure, right here.
Hey, so
I just want to say that we have been customers of Scoop Cattle, very happy customers for 3 years while we had them on the 34. it was fantastic to have waterway access. We lost it. You know, when the state had to take out the launch. So it adds so much quality of life. You know, Tina's a friend of mine and we worked together for a couple of years, you know, trying to encourage her to stick with Derby. She's stuck with us. You know, she's got a fantastic presentation and wonderful lifestyle. That's everything. So, and I think Commodore Hall, if you could see us now, we'd be so proud of Commodore Hall. USS Constitution, I'm talking about Derby's own Commodore Hall. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Anybody else from the public would like to speak? Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, Kelly Curtis.
Hey, Kelly, go for it.
Hey, hi, Zeke. A couple things. I'm on the WPCA. I've been on the WPCA for probably the past 5 to 6 years. I don't even know anymore. It just blends together. But my concerns are we're down to 2 operating members plus the chairman. It's very hard to have a meeting. It's very hard to set the budget for next year. When there's 2 of us, one has stepped down and the other one I think is on a leave of absence. I'd like you to see what you can do to fill this void. I mean, this month we're going to start working on our budget, and it's kind of tough to work on, you know, with 2 to 3 people. I mean, everyone's got to make adjustments just to be able to have a monthly meeting. And also the infrastructure committee. I've been on that for quite a few years, you know, quite a bit longer than the WPCA. We don't have a chairman. We had 1 member that has never shown up for a meeting. We had another member that stepped down. So right now we're at 3 total, again, with this committee. It's my understanding that we cannot take action against any bond bills unless both committees can meet. Well, right now we're holding up bond bills probably as much as 3-4 months because we can't meet on a monthly basis. What I'm really asking, Zeke, please appoint people to these committees. It's getting old. It's carried on for quite a long time. And thirdly, I'm a little disappointed that the outcome of the not regionalization, but the privatization of the sewer department has not met the Board of Aldermen. A week ago, something has been set forward, and I'm a little shocked that it's not before the full Board of Aldermen yet. Again, we're at a bad time. We're setting our budget now, and we need to know what the outcome is going to be. With that being said, good luck.
Thanks, Cal.
All right. Thank you.
Mayor, it's Barbara. Can I ask Mr. Curtis a question? I want to know what he was referring to with the privatization committee.
Um,
Go ahead, Cal, if you want to tell her.
If it's okay, Zeke.
Hi, Kelly.
Yes, go for it.
Bart, the privatization committee about Aquarian taking over. I sat in on the meeting. It was my understanding, it is not going forward. And I'm a little shocked that it's not before the Board of Aldermen now, because again, in 2 months, within less than 2 months, we've got to have our budget set, but we don't know what the outcome's going to be. As to, it hasn't gone through the board to make a decision. Are we going with Aquarian? Are we going to take the battle on by ourselves? I have my own personal opinions on it, but there was a decision made by a board or a committee that's worked 2 years on this, and I'm just surprised it hasn't come before the Board of Aldermen yet. I mean, the decision.
Well, that's why I asked.
Kelly, it's going on
We
Monday.
were getting was, we were getting an update from Jack Walsh as to the status of, you know, certain things from the privatization committee. We had to okay some bills that were needed to be paid, but if there was a meeting whenever you said it was, and there was a vote, it's news to me, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, actually, I think it was last Wednesday, because I sat in on the meeting, I spoke under the public portion of it, and they went into executive session and came out with a response.
All right, Kel, we're gonna
Yeah,
put that
okay.
on Monday.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks, Zeke.
You're welcome.
And please look into these committees. It's getting old, Zeke. It's really getting old. All right?
Yes, sir. Anybody else from the public?
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Any background information just sent to us
Yeah.
on that privatization stuff before?
We'll get the minutes and everything. You can put that down. Anybody else? Sarah?
Sarah Hagan, I just wanted to express my support for this food travel proposal. I think it would be a great addition to our downtown. I know that they were up the river and it'd be great to have them downtown. It'd be great for our families to have somewhere local to do their kayaking, their biking, and I love their proposal. So I hope this board supports it.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Okay, hearing none, we're gonna move on. Special orders, none. Number 7. Scoot and paddle. Christina Pritchard and Raj Solway, discussion on scoots and paddle. I'm looking forward to this.
Having said that, it's also got a share of nuisance crime.
I'm sorry. Closer to the microphone.
Right.
Thank you.
So, given that, and some of the other things that are going on, if you just perhaps share the Route 34 road widening, as you can all see, is ahead of plan, partly because we didn't have any winter, which is great. And as part of the transformation we're trying to do together, we started conversations with a number of developers, actually 11 we've contacted, about the perspective for a proposal or a bunch of proposals for the Main Street South development. One of the things that comes through strongly, in addition to the scrapyard relocation, is creating a destination. And creating a destination really is all about investing to attract residents and visitors and emphasize the fact that we have the river location and a greenway. So that kind of is the background to these 2 presentations on the green. Tina's going to introduce what she's been doing for 10 years. And then we'll talk about what we'd like to try to do together here in the city.
Thanks. Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Tina Pritchard, and I have Scoot and Paddle in Milford, Connecticut for the past 10 years. It's my 11th year. And we rent kayaks, paddle boards, scooters, bikes, and we do a lot of group events. So group sunset paddles, yoga on the paddleboard, paddle and yoga events. So we'll do yoga on grass and then paddle and then go and have drinks and dinner with the local businesses. So we like to collaborate a lot with different businesses in the area, which is nice because you guys have pretty good businesses. We've got Bad Sons, which has a nice fire outside at night. We go and hang out there. Roseland Pizza and the Wings, the Dudra. They have really good wings. But we've been to all those places after our paddles in the past. And sorry, you're over there.
No, yeah, okay, good.
You're and yeah, it's just been really great. Our target audience is basically everyone because the boats are very safe. They're sit on top, they can't sink. They're very easy to get into and out of. So unfortunately, a lot of people are scared of Long Island Sound. They're scared of sharks that they perceive might be in there. So the river is a nice alternative to get people back out on the water. People that haven't done it in a while or people that have never done it. It's calmer, it's more predictable. And it's just really, and we had a great time at the lake. Nice and calm there. People really loved it. It would be great for Derby residents to come down, explore the riverway, the bike trails. But also my regular clientele, I have many customers that I'll be marketing to regularly. And they were coming to Derby in the past and they they've been in demand to come back. They've been asking me to bring it back. So they'll definitely be here. I'll be bringing in a lot. My largest audience is 25 to 34-year-olds. So they're young, they're vibrant, they eat, they shop, they do all the things you want them to do. So when they come to kayak and they come to paddleboard, but they will stay, shop, go to restaurants. So it'll help not just my business, but the community. Benefits to Derby is just the influx of visitors and also having a destination business. People will want to come here, they want to move here, not right away, but it'll help for sure. You know, like it happened in Milford. People would come, people would say, what a lovely area. We grew Walnut Beach area. It was very underdeveloped when I moved to the area. So it was an ice cream shop, then myself, and a little lobster shop, and it's grown. It's huge now. People love it, talk about it all the time. The city uses it as a tourism draw when they talk about it. They put it in all their pamphlets. It's on Visit CT, it's on New Haven, Visit New Haven, all the different sites. So it's definitely a draw to Connecticut, but Milford, and hopefully Derby. The location would be Hog Island, which is right at the confluence of two rivers, which Roger drew. So it's nice. You can explore two different rivers. There is small areas that aren't even, they're just kind of inlets that people can, hang out at if they're not too safe going up or down the river, but you can take as long as you want to explore both rivers. There's lots of bird life. I used to paddle there myself at the public launch before it was prohibited. So lots of nice bird life and fish, and that's another draw for a different crowd of people that we don't really get in Milford is the bird watchers. They really like things like that. And I don't know if you guys have any questions about.
Mayor, it's Barbara. I have a couple questions
But
Sure.
at this point, anyway. What hours of the day would your operation, is it proposed?
Hours are probably going to be 9 to 6 every single day, 7 days a week. We also do some group events, so they might run a little bit later, like sunset.
Okay, and I did see that it's not just kayaks and paddle boards, but it's bikes and electric scooters. And where do you think the electric scooters are going to be able to be ridden?
At this point, I don't know if electric scooters are allowed on the greenway, so that might not be part of
They're
the
not.
plan.
Yeah, no, they're not. Yeah, they're not. So
Mopeds, they're literally like the stand-up scooters, and they go about 10 to 12 miles an hour. But as of right now, I don't know the rules on that. So.
yeah, they're well. That would have to be cleared up. And I have, at this point, I have some other issues, but I won't bring them up since it's a presentation. But I have a question for Attorney Marini. Does the city of Derby own Hog Island?
This is an excellent question and one that I have been working on for, leading up to this meeting. I want to get to that after the presentation because it will certainly
Okay.
factor into what action we can take.
Okay.
Mrs. Deach, why wouldn't we own it? Was there something that came up before in the past? Or
nobody owns it, right?
So, yeah,
sorry?
Nobody owns it.
Oh,
We
let,
keep.
let me jump ahead. It looks like Hog Island is at best state owned. So it's going to come up with basically a spoiler here is my recommendation is going to be to go with the use isolated to O'Sullivan's Island right now until we could get permission from the state. Looks like we're going to have to go through DOT and even rails to get permission to be able to license a business to operate. We clearly can't license or lease property that we don't own for clear reasons, but it wouldn't stop the project, which is a really exciting project, from going forward short term, if it's possible to go to what I think was one of the initial concepts, which is isolated to O'Sullivan's Island. it's very possible that as we pick up permission to use Hog Island, that we could change the agreement over even the course of this summer, if not, the next season. But yes, Hog Island, the ownership, that is exactly the issue. And I would say that right now we have to leave Hog Island out of the mix for now.
It's like Commerce Street. Remember Anthony bought that property? Or was, and nobody owned it.
Right.
Maybe the Indians still own it.
And I would-
Bagatzes, Ron, I might have to get the Bagatzes.
Right, yeah, I was there.
And I would even say, we could wait until we get permission to do Hog Island, but then you have you run the risk of losing the whole summer. If it can be done on O'Sullivan's Island, why not start with that? It would be my suggestion.
So what about the months of operation?
So my peak season is generally Memorial Day to Labor Day. Weather permitting, I can open May 1st through Columbus Day in the past. It's the extended date.
Now, can you operate without the Hog Islands?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And do everything you want to do within the Sullivan's Islands?
Yes.
One of the events is Hog Island, it's slightly higher elevation, but it's a little less exposure.
Because I do have a storage unit that I would keep the boats in to keep them safe from any sort of vandalism. And also in Island, maybe floods a little bit more, it's a little lower, so.
As long as you can
That was-
operate, just wanted to make sure that it wasn't paramount that you had the property on
No.
Hog. Okay.
Any other questions?
How much, I'm sorry, I didn't get to go through this yet. Like, how much equipment is kept there? What's the?
So there would be a storage unit
Mhm.
for the boats and then a storage unit for the bikes, and everything would be put away in them every night. So it would
And
just
how,
be 2 units.
and so how large generally are those?
I think the units are 8 feet wide by about 20 feet long.
How many boats, how many,
They're the Conex box,
Yeah.
20 foot.
Yeah, 20 by 8.
how many boats, bikes are you gonna bring down? There's like 10 of each, 20 of each?
It really depends on, I can bring, 12 of each, paddleboards, kayaks, bikes, and I can bring more as needed.
Okay. So you can be ready.
There's different types. Now I have double kayaks, single kayaks, paddleboards, different things, so we'll have to see what's
The more
being
the merrier.
utilized. And
I
then,
hope you have to put 5 of them down
yeah,
there to take care of the crowd.
they stack, so.
Yeah.
John, do you have a packet in front of you? This 7-1C, you see it? This is considered O'Sullivan's Island right here?
That's O'Sullivan's Island, and the peninsula above it would be considered
Right.
Hog Island.
So this is the piece that they're talking about, right? That's not. Okay. So that's the original spot that
The originals,
got.
do you have the original plan?
So remember, we
Yeah.
walked out there, so this is also the top right here.
Right, so right here, there's a nice little
Yeah.
area that
Gotcha. Okay.
could possibly be, it's launchable. It's not as nice and graded as the Hog Island.
Any other questions? All right.
There's a proposition.
So I drafted a lease. When I drafted it, I included both O'Sullivan's Island and Hog Island. I then went to collect, the legal schedules to attach. And that's when, of course, it became apparent that that wasn't exactly recorded in our favor in the clerk's office. So I'd say at this point, and it's kind of nice to have the luxury of the follow-up meeting. You could express your thoughts on that license agreement. I tried to really put in there all the nuts and bolts from liability protection to being very specific as in terms of what the use would be. But certainly, any comments, thoughts, suggestions, we can incorporate into the proposal going into our next meeting. So we have a good period of time to clean things up to your liking.
From an environmental, like brownfields perspective, is there any, I don't know what the rules and regulations when that's capped off. Are we good?
So we're
with
not
that?
touching the soil at all. There's no intrusive activities whatsoever, right? We're not putting anything into the ground, pillars, posts. So it's all temporary. Containers, I think, is like the largest of the structures, but these wouldn't permeate the surface in any way.
It should not.
No.
So then we're okay. We're not doing anything invasive. Yeah, so
I knew
sounds
there
all
was
safe.
a PCB issue, right after cleanup, and it was an issue where even foot traffic was a concern. That was years ago. I was just wondering, with your experience and your expertise, if there's, a check we can get a clear from, whether it's the DEP or.
We can reach out to our LEP licensed environmental professional who's working with the city on other projects in the
Okay.
downtown area. And that's probably the easiest way,
I think that
quickest
would be
way,
great,
we can
just-
get a bill of health to make sure that what we're doing is all safe for the residents. Safety is important.
Yeah, check the box.
Yep.
Okay.
John, we went through planning and zoning with the vision repair. I believe that there was a report that there to actually go there. There's probably something out there that was actually signed off. So.
Perfect. And they probably would want to see that use is, they take a look at the use because, yeah, erecting a whole new dock or apparatus there may very well be something that would have to have some oversight.
Yeah.
This is not that, but put it in front of their eyes anyway. That way we can say we did our due diligence. We could have that for our next meeting.
And so this will be revised for us for,
So I'm going to take out Hogs Island first, and then any additions or comments you'd have for me to take a look at, certainly, it's something we could continue to work on until it's approved.
All right, thank you.
thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
It's gonna be pretty.
7.2, Greenway lighting and security presentation. Marcio. Sorry, I don't have my glasses. Well, Femia, Pen Globe, and then Roger. If you want to come up here a little bit so they can.
Yeah, they're with Cranford, America's oldest outdoor lighting company. We're America's oldest outdoor lighting company. We've been in North Cranford since 1995, and we're a national company, but we've got a strong focus on taking care of people here in Connecticut. We like to brag a little bit. We're Disneyland, we're Main Street, we're the Yukon's lighting standard. This probably a major city on the East Coast where we're not like, present, even with a little teeny company. So we're really proud of that. And so Roger, we got to meet him when he came down to North Branford. And so he brought us up here to talk about we've been working and looking at this, given the circumstances. And I don't know the history. So sorry, David Feinberg, Director of Smart Lighting. I don't know the history. I don't know if there's been suggestions or things to do, what you want to do with your greenway, but we were presented with, could we do something energy efficient? Could it be state of the art? Could it be solar? Could we not disrupt the land? Could we keep it aesthetic? Could we make it into a community space? What can we do with it? So it's a blank slate for us. So this is not what you want to do, but what we have proposed and company we are, I know this is in our wheelhouse because of this expansion of all the things that we do. So as a brief presentation, we put together some photographs that we took up here. So we'll leave that you have this. I believe I already sent this to you. I'm coming. Excuse my back. Roger's already sent this up to you, but we have a 99% return rate on our customers for I don't know how many years, 35 years. They stick with us. We stick with them. Change, we go with the tide. Things started with metal halide high-pressure sodium lights. We converted them into LED lights. In fact, we actually did up here at the top of the hill, where that park is, we did that some years ago. For you. Yeah. Right as you were coming.
Yeah.
Right there. Okay, this is there. So anyway, that is us. That happens to actually be the Guilford Green. For what it is. So go Dave. This is the space that we find ourselves in being a small manufacturer. And this is really important. We're making this stuff in Connecticut. It sounds really general. Making the product in Connecticut, okay, with Connecticut manufacturers. And this is really key to what we're doing. What we're doing is creating this whole new venue of placemaking, which has economic factors, community, diversity, all kinds of things to bring people in with the idea that particularly that light posts are real estate and it shouldn't just it should do more than that, right? Because it can. They can have cameras, they can have flower pots, they can have wayfinding, signage. They can have GFIs at the bottom of the poles for future vendors who might, if you decide you want to go in that direction with green community events right there. And we take the time to work with people to find out what could happen, what's planned for it now, right? And it's a lot cheaper to do this kind of stuff before something starts, right? So we do it thoughtfully and we know the right question to ask. And we always take care of asking the people who have to take care of the product long after the architects and engineers and everybody else tells us what we should buy. Let's talk about people who actually have to take care of it for the next 30, 40 years, right? Okay. So with this, let's say, right. So you've already started doing these kinds of things. I mean, what what Tina's proposing, it's right. It's a nugget of all of that, right? To have a reason to bring people together. Okay, there you go. After the sun goes down, and that's where it leads here, because the lights have to function. Roger is the chief proponent of solar in the state, I think, and he's right. He's absolutely spot on. There's all kinds of different designs. And by the time you would ever get to doing this, we have another design. We do all like one. The important thing to know is, from a maintenance point of view, the solar is 100% available, and I strongly support what he's trying to do. So the challenge was, as Eduardo and David kept walking up and down the greenway to see the tricks that they've been here, how do you do this with your existing fence? How do you do it without disrupting the land and, an Army Corps of Engineers and everything we've heard? So one of the things that we have come up with, and don't necessarily look at this thing, but we can never have to disrupt the soil or what it actually is. We can go in ground. This is exactly the height right there, about that larger from the, okay, there would be 2 feet of that smaller pipe, and it would drop in where the existing ones are, and then the height above it would be exactly the same. Those holes would accept those wooden rails. Now, I realize you may replace those wooden rails, we were just talking, but if we get the color right, and we don't disrupt the land, that will go up to whatever height we decide we need to do for the poles. And we would work to make sure that aesthetically it blended, if you will, with what is out there. It's economical, it's not disruptive, and then we can give it character by introducing color into the light fixtures, whatever that might be. I strongly recommend color. I want to show you a video after this. Okay, Dave. I'm gonna take up too much time. If I'm good, let me know when you want me to stop. Okay, so these fixtures and poles also, this is just really stripped down. You see, there's no signage, there's no ladder rest, there's no security cameras, but that is key to what is here. We would be able to work with your city engineers and find out where the optimal spaces are and make sure they're very site specific. You don't want this to look unwelcoming, having cameras all over the place. But you want enough to get the job done where they are. We would outfit the poles that if the decision was we got it wrong, you know what I'm saying, and then we had to need a couple more, they would get ready to accept them. Okay, that would be key. We do that. You can check us out with Waterbury. We do this for them all the time. So that they can change and move things around. What's going to have camera? What's going to have Wi-Fi? There's so many things that we can do that are inexpensive. I mean, we're talking brackets and metal, but just like we gave Waterbury one universal mounting plate, so that it doesn't matter. It's pre-drilled with holes, and it looks attractive. You're gonna put the camera on there, it looks great. You're gonna put the Wi-Fi there, it looks great. And I really think, even though, and I joke around and say this, we're a gnat in the lighting industry, I think this is what makes us different than the big boys that are, selling the lights to utility companies and that kind of thing, and having to make China. So keep on going, Dave. That's it. I want to show you the next one. One of the things we're really finding, we have 2 more things to talk to you about, and then I'll take your questions. This introduction of color, which costs nothing, is a game changer. It's a real game changer, not to just have black poles wherever it is that you are. And if you're doing finishes that are not going to need to be touched for 10, 15 years, right? You can actually make it warm and welcoming. We call it color shift. It's not even a product, it's just a way to think about what's doing, and you can just see, if you can just play this through Dave. It can really be a game changer for all kinds of environments. It really essential. Anyway, that would be, sorry, if you can't show it tonight, don't worry about it, but there will be time to, give you guys some thoughts. One other thing, we always sample, don't let anybody buy anything. It doesn't, get sampled and stay up for a bunch of things.
So they're not.
I don't know if you can see that, but why can't it be blue? And look what a difference that can do to a community. We're finding reds, yellows. You can see these small little details that can make a big difference, but they don't cost anything. So, I mean, if you really just open your mind up to all of this, so you get the nice aesthetic, you get to bring the communities downtown, you get to go into the place-making world, and we would like to tell you to, and give you a flyer, a test market, this place-making space. We're doing picnic tables, where we're putting on lights, phone chargers, they look like flowers, they look like butterflies, they look like bees, they're ADA, they bring our disadvantaged people or our handicapped people, give them a place to come and congregate. We did a test for New Jersey Municipal Show in just November, just to see what happened. Off the charts of people like gravitating to do it. And you can see it, and it gets little things, picnic table. Anyway, we're here. We can give you, I'm pretty sure, whatever it is that you want. And we would be happy, we're right down the road, work with you all to figure it all out. So what about Roger?
Questions? It's an isolated area now. And they have a lot of tigers. We're down there constantly spraying or covering up for spray paint and stuff like that. How's your product?
I think Derry.
We just survived the fall here. So, these are all aluminum construction. It's not double wall, like, and they're powdered. So they're resistant, they stand up, and color fade. The other thing that I like about this product that our person uses, if you do get a spray paint, I'm just going to say. For those of you familiar with powder coat, there are different texture finishes to powder coat. The smoother and tighter the grain is on that powder coat, the easier it is. It's not going to penetrate. Even with some pretty harsh like
If I may, we don't have it down the group, right? So we do it with someone else. This is the kind of thing we can do. I can
We
ask
have
that question-
factory space if you need some more.
I can ask that question in the council, you know what I mean? I can say, what do we do? Is there something that's even more resistant and wipes down that much easier? And I'm happy to get back to you. I mean, won't have right.
Just sad that people.
I don't know, maybe we turn that into the art of the place, I don't know. Yeah, I know. So anyway, there's a lot of options, and if you start thinking about it, more than the normal things that you see, you can really see for a little bit of money.
Well, what's the light that goes on? That light,
Oh, yeah, much better.
sensor, right?
It does, yes.
It goes on and then it, like 30%,
Yep.
motion light goes on 60% or something.
I run to my office every day until 9 o'clock, right, so we only one at night. I'm not gonna get to sleep, we have one of these. And, so it's on when I go out at 9 o'clock at night, as I walk by, it brightens up. It's 20% dimmer, it's perfectly bright, not wasting energy communication, so when I walk by, there it goes. That's your question.
Yeah, so how long with so each one of them has like a solar cap or something to,
The whole top panel, like the one that we were showing in your presentation,
Yeah.
the whole thing is solar.
so if the
You
light,
can't see it, people can't see it, it looks attractive, and it's got that really nice metal housing to make it look not old fashioned, but at least attractive.
how's the light from? So how long will the light last? for?
Right now, they're staying at least 5 years, at least 5
It'd be
years.
easy to replace
Mhm.
solar panel on there if you need it.
Yeah.
Or they guaranteed for 20 years.
Nothing LEDs guaranteed for 20 years, I'm sorry to tell you, we had a really fun time with LEDs came in the market, people wanted a 10-year warranty. LEDs were warranted for 10 years, and the drivers were always nationwide for 5 years. What do they do that?
Right.
Right? But it's evolving. And you won't be doing this tomorrow, you know what I mean? It's hard. So as Roger is proposing, and I'm a political animal, I just want to say, we're starting a nonprofit down in New Haven, manufacturing nonprofit, but very, very deep in the manufacturing space in the state. This is also full disclosure, Workforce Committee for Manufacturing CG, Board for Workforce Alliance. They say those things not to brag because we're committed to it, all of that. There's just a lot of work. We try and keep in this state. You have a training center, there's things that we can do together. But the big thing is this community challenge grant it's so key for what you're trying to do. I mean, you're what they're looking for, right? Your town, your demographics, your economy, and this wonderful green light as the center and the focal point to add a bunch of other amazing opportunities to. I mean, I think you're the tip of the iceberg, right? So
you sell us the product, right? And then we have an installer, because you don't have it.
we would work with Roger and that because we've got a good, solid, reputable network of people that we would work with.
Okay, so you have somebody that.
Yeah. And I will also say to you, I don't know how this factors, we haven't talked about this, but you must have a purchasing co-op. And if you don't, we can hook you up with purchasing co-op, so you know exactly what you want and not have to put the services that you want and you trust out for bid. It's perfect. It's done here in Connecticut. It's done in New Jersey, and we can hook you up with who those people are. You might find that's a really good thing to use in a lot of other places. Just saying. So
You mentioned, there is a thing called the Connecticut Community Challenge Grant, right? And it is a sort of once a year opportunity, and we're already putting the grant application together for the repair of the bridge that's going on the Greenway that goes over the railway. And the estimate for that is of the order of 450,000. Okay, so what we're proposing to do with your support is to bundle into that application the lighting, the installation, and putting in the fencing and replacing the wood fencing, which is falling apart in many places anyway. So putting in a new fencing system that would kind of last for as long as all of us are going to be around. So the bad news is that the deadline for the community's grant is the 3rd of May. So we've already done a lot of work. And one of the constraints is the minimum you can actually go for is $1 million. Maximum is 10 million. So we need to sort of bundle things together to reach that million. The 450 for the bridge, the lighting, the wiring, the fencing. We think we can do that, but it does require us to be in a position to be able to match the 25% required by the community's grant.
you guys have a distinct advantage. Most of the people in the state have to match 50%.
Right.
Because if yours is just, if you don't
I
match
can't
20%.
hear. I haven't heard the last half of it.
If I may, the other is that this is the 3rd round, as Roger said. Nobody knows how many rounds they're going to do. So you don't want to wait, I mean, you can always pull your application and you might get it, but coming from a person who knows how these things are working, it's like, you should file something, you know what I mean? And then I've offered, I'll talk to your grant, I've already talked to you, I'll talk to your grant writer and help.
So that's kind of where we are. There's other things that we talked to the Army Corps of Engineers. They like this solution because it's basically taking out the wooden posts that's coming out. The hole that's left, that goes in and it's got a concrete base. So we're not disrupting or excavating anything. So they're okay with that. But they are concerned that we remove the brush and the growth that's actually on the riverside, and that's going to cost money. So we bundle that into the same grant application. Yeah, but it's still there.
Can I ask a question, 2 questions? I'm not sure that the information was given already. It's Barbara, because I haven't heard half of what the woman said. And I don't know who was asking her questions. No voice, that voice wasn't familiar to me. Somebody on the board, but and I'm going to ask you, Roger, do you have an idea of what this proposed project costs?
Right now,
that
Marcia
she's presenting on?
we've put the idea in, at this point, we've put in 250,000, which would be basically the match that we would require anyway. So if we didn't get the grant, we would probably look for that 250,000 to come from our over $2 million of ARPA funds that are not yet committed.
That's installed.
Well, I'm sure there's other vendors that do the same thing that they do. It have, we have a bid process. We have according to our charter, I mean, it appears you have a relationship with this company because you both worked in North Branford. But, I'm a little, skeptical. Again, I'm not going to get it. It was a presentation, but, I'm sure there's other vendors that do the same thing.
Sure.
This isn't a new idea of what we've tried to do with the Riverwalk and the Greenway. So I'm just a little skeptical at this point without having, full, transparency and, doing it the right way that we're supposed to be doing it. So that's
Right,
why
we
I
have
asked
to-
you what
we
the
have to-
price was.
This is really an information presentation, Barbara, and just to get some order of magnitude in order to be able to apply for this community's challenge grant. We have not gone out to bid at all. But we want to put it in the challenge grant application, which is due in a couple of weeks.
If I may, ma'am, this is Marcia, can you hear me? You can use our number for the 250 for this grant application that you don't want to miss, whether you work with us or not. It's a realistic, it's a reasonable number to submit this all important, time sensitive, application. So
They're all
Not-
time
not to
sensitive.
sell.
Unfortunately, the way they come to this board, you're not aware of that, but everything becomes time sensitive.
The grant is $1 million, right?
Right.
Minimum. So
Yes,
25% of $1 million is 250.
right.
So 250 is the 25% match for the minimum grant. So
Now, my question would be, obviously, this is solar, correct?
Yes.
But would we have to run power if we
No,
want
that's
camera?
the attraction. I mean, until now, there hasn't been the technology. Because initially we started this by going back to the Army Corps of Engineers. No trenching. The trenching currently, you probably know better than I do, cable for underground trenching is $16 a foot.
I know, it's expensive, yeah.
Okay, so if you take the 2 miles, you can figure out the number is huge. So we tried to find a technology that did not require using power from the grid.
So you're saying that we were to put cameras,
They would be all Wi-Fi cameras powered by the solar.
If I may.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a unit that will be able to have connectivity and utilize a battery type of a system through solar. It then has to enter a network, obviously, which I think addresses a little bit of where you're going.
Yeah.
Which, yes, you would need an actual powered unit, which we've identified like underneath the bridge near Hogs Island, where you do have power available, things of that sort, that would not require trenching, where you can now begin to take all of this data collection, which it uses a mesh network to be able to communicate to each other, then get it into that router and now to wherever you choose that it be networked to. Someone's got to see it, right? So that is really about the only power need that is required here.
like you said, we can strategically put that in place where we're not going to have to run significant amount of line. You could just connect it.
Oh, well, correct. There's no, right, exactly. There's no trenching. It's working off of standard sub panels and existing poles that you have currently. It's just a matter of being able to create that access point.
Now, can we bundle that into? Yes. This.
This is under the railroad bridge. So the wood fence is going all the way up down the side of the levee. We have the bridge that needs repairing over the railroad there. But down here, under the, we're going down here to the parking area and sort of inside it, there are power poles. So the thinking is, because this is an area where there's been some nuisance crime, we would have regular lighting powered from the grid. So these would be solar lights, these would be solar lights, these would be regular. So floodlights.
Then you would be able to put every so often, like a Wi-Fi booster to,
Right.
so everything will loop on top of itself
Yes.
until you get to the
Right.
next one.
Right, but there would be no trenching or cables in those.
Which we have to do.
Right.
Or we're gonna shut this thing down.
Are we getting to the split rail fence that we currently have? Are we going with that same style?
So
or-
we all,
Right, exactly. I see that. Okay.
so
Those posts would just replace. Not every post.
One every 10?
I think it's sort of like. Sure. What's the illumination of this? Like how bright?
Well, we'll be outside right now, my office. I think I have 60 bucks, so it's 60 bucks for. That's the over review, right? All the temperature, wanted to look at gas station. Right? So we have to find it, but those things we work out together, but, I think, yes, at least 100. Seems to be a lot, I think we get a 60 buck range.
And again, as the years go by.
I don't know yet about solar, let's check that. I'll get back to you.
Well, it's like if you don't mind, like you walk by it, it'll be at 30% or whatever. it is. You walk outside, it'll go up.
And that's how we're getting the dust till dawn. Time period, exactly. If it was just on that entire time, you wouldn't be able to manage that period. The other thing that's nice is that with the, technological advances that, Rod's been talking about, the charge time on these during the day, is typically in the 4 to 6 hour range. And they're ready to go for pump. So figure it's some programming to a degree, like Mark said, that will work out with it in regard to, do we want it down to 30%? How long do we want it to stay on once that PIR sensor has been triggered? But all of those customizable aspects, we work through to whatever reports the customer is looking for.
And justice on this way. I'm not letting people, you're gonna be able to do this. It's help, whether it's from us or someone else, to be able to know it's gonna work or walk away from. You know what I mean? Know it's gonna do what we want it to do.
That maintenance is not our song.
What is it anyway? And we have also service, we can't touch it. They did a whole lot of contract. They never put in their union contract that anyone's responsible for the streetlights. I mean, you'd be amazed. So anyway, yeah, right. So anyway, I don't think any more time. We're down the road. Run, talk sometime, but now come up halfway.
Question for you, though. The lights on this picnic table, do you do the entire table or just the light? So if we need to get the light up, we throw a couple of those on. How about bike racks?
Oh, bike racks, I mean, we the things that people are going to do, but this one was out, really, yes, bike racks, for sure. That would complement it. It doesn't have to be fun. One guy said you can do fish. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And, I'll leave my country here. How's that sound? Are we good?
yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Good job.
Right.
So, Roger, what I'm hearing is that, right, this grant application needs to be in by the 3rd of May. So I think what would be helpful for this board is to have a breakdown of what you are looking to include on this grant.
Right.
And, a general price, that we know the bridge is 400. And, and then we think the lighting is gonna be this, we're looking for to get to the million or whatever it is. And if you can send that to the board, the breakdown, the mayor, Roger,
Yes.
sent it to us directly, great. That would be very helpful for, so we can take a look at it for Monday.
Thank you. 25%.
Think that it will be over $1 million for everything lumped together?
No, because once you get over the match control.
So they're trying to get to them.
Right.
You already proved it.
Right.
So we have that,
We have the vote on it. the 25% match for $1 million, right? Which I think is 250.
I got enough to make seat.
Right, so I'm just asking.
Yep.
To know what our decision. making.
All right, so Roger, you'll get that out tomorrow to them, or Friday, or Saturday, or. Oh, I know that.
And that obviously could be irrespective of vendor, but now we have a very good idea at what, you know, what could be done. So blocking it off in terms of,
Yeah.
Not for nothing, you know, if you try to turn this into like a destination, I think with the result of the first million, you're gonna also going to the CIF, but you turn it into a destination.
That's,
And you've got their 85 million suspended, there's 3 more rounds. Okay, so
Thank
you've got choices. Right?
I mean, can I just mention this, CIF,
Yes.
we applied for 9.1 million for the parking garage. And there were 190 different applications for funding within the state. Initially, we were told it was gonna be about 175 million available. It was not that, it was under 100 million. So only 28 of the 190 applicants got some. If you figure it was like just over 90 million available, and we applied for 9 of them, you know, it was just too much. So what we're doing with our grant administrator and what we work with, we're revising the budget because we've already done the lighting in the parking garage. And we've already done the security system in the parking garage. That takes about 200,000 out of it. We've gone back to the contractors who put in contingencies on their original estimate, and we've cut them in half because they have done the design now. So there's less uncertainty. This is Capasso and the electrical work. So we're going to resubmit the SIF grant rate, which is in the beginning of June.
It's made open up first.
It's opening up May 1st, but the deadline is
June.
June. So we're going to go back, and I'm not sure if I should be saying this now, but one of the reasons we didn't get it is our match was only 5% of what we were asking to be funded. We were told if we could increase that a little bit, that would increase the points we would get. So we're looking at maybe increasing the match to 10%, but by reducing the total, it would probably require us to change the approval for a 500,000, which was approved here by the board, to 750. 750 is on 10%, so it gets us essentially closer. And it means there'll be less to ask for from the state. So but that's, yeah.
Roger, how much was the original amount?
The original amount was 9.65.
The state had.
175 is what we were told.
What was it?
They were told 175 and it was actually 98.5.
Okay, so 175 to 98.
Right. And only 28 of the applications were approved out of 190.
This grant application is due May 3rd.
For the 250 for this project is May 3rd. For the SIF grant for the resubmission for the parking garage is at the end of June.
But,
The
for
one
this
you're
one here,
deadline for is this.
This is the
when do
deadline
they anticipate getting and making a decision?
in July for this.
July, and then how quickly would you get that turned around? Should you be the
Before it gets dark.
I've gotten some of this myself, we did not talk about those working on. So, we were awarded, SIF money, one of them was SIF money for round 1. I got notification on my birthday on September 28th, so I know that, and then we got the, okay to, proceed, we can start spending money late November. And that was for application went in July. That's not bad for the state, I mean, it could be like July, September, and it's not bad at all.
Yeah, one of the good things about the Communities Challenge Grant, which is the one we're doing here, is that 50% of the money has to be allocated to distressed communities. There's 25 distressed communities out of 169 municipalities. So we're one of those. And we're fairly close to the top. So, they gain scoring points.
If I may again, and the SIF money, about the community challenge money, the first one, the one that right now, you will talk about now, it's for everybody in the state, like every municipality. The CIF money, only certain towns, is like, what, 30 towns, and
Yeah.
they can't even apply for it.
Right.
There's-
We're one
You want
Yes.
one.
Is the 250, is that including, are we thinking about cameras on the green line for the lighting?
You know, it's a kind of a figure to get in the ground at this point. We haven't gone out to get a bid for anything. But it's, you know, the advice we've been getting from Marcia's company.
If that decision had not been made on your part, we-
He doesn't need
So,
it.
it's simply a task at the time that, if I understood your question correctly, excuse me, when you had asked, like, if we were the ones, like, were you talking about how quick the production?
Correct.
We're typically in the 8 to 10 week range.
Okay.
Where we would be delivering product. We can also set that up in stages too, based upon how the installer is progressing, as they move forward. So we can certainly deliver and schedule also.
Your project's unique because you're not taking something down and putting something up. So if we can get the pole work done, then follow up the light fixtures, since poles have to actually be, you know, reconfigured with the rails. Anyway, that's detailed. You don't want to say you're on that with us.
How long is that construction anticipate approximately, something of this magnitude?
Okay.
To do it?
Oh, yeah, was it do the rails then?
Yeah.
What
A
did
few
you
weeks.
say? Couple weeks.
And again, you know, a lot of those poles are low rusted. I think that the contractor is going to be, you know, we've all been working with her or looking for some input and advice. There's some variables there. How hard is it to get the existing out? How rotted are they? And with how much ease can they get in without disturbing the soil? But it's really not a major undertaking, which is nice.
All right. I'm sorry. We don't talk amongst yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks a lot.
All right, going to move on to the new 7.3, public safety, city of Derby, muffler exhaust noise. We brought this up because we had some concerns. People were talking, Fred, you heard him talking. I'd like to put this on corporate council to research the state statutes that we have for noise and then see what our noise ordinance in the city of Derby is. Potentially bring something back to the board, see if you want to initiate a stricter ordinance to ease the issue with, saying with the muffler systems and stuff like that. So I think if we can task corporate council.
So, I mean, loud mufflers, that kind of issue has been a problem all over the valley. I think as you get more traffic, you're gonna get more noise issues. So the question is there a local legislative initiative that you might be willing to consider? So what I can do, Mayor, is I can take a look at that for the board's pleasure to kind of see what the options would be. Sometimes it's a fit for one community and not another. Depends how you want to approach the problem. But there may be some options you can do through ordinance that could supplement, that could help what you already have available at the state end. You know, so I don't take that decision.
You don't have anything on the books right now.
Not as a local ordinance. You have a local noise scheme,
Decibel, yeah.
but to specifically relate to loud or modified mufflers that are creating those really kind of crazy sounds, there may be something you can do. Of course, it always falls back to enforcement. So my general advice is no matter what scheme you put together, if you can't enforce it, it's just going to sit there. But at least I can maybe give you a couple options to look at, and it's up to you if you're interested in pursuing it. And if not, hey, you do have other things to rely on, state law, and you have your noise ordinance. And at that point, you would be a talk with your PD to say, okay, how to better enforce what's already on the books.
Now, doesn't the when it crack, I'm guessing it's the crack, right? The piston,
Yeah.
when the explosion, right, cracks out. That goes over decibel allotment, correct?
The PD will likely tell you though, in those situations, if we're not around to measure it, how am I going to act on it?
Right.
And that not just applies for mufflers, that could kind of frustratingly apply to everything. You have a guy who's doing work on their motorcycle at 10 o'clock at night in front of their house. You're hearing it. It's obviously, an obscenely loud noise. You call the officer comes up, the guy runs inside. Without a recording, you really can't do much. Some communities have really cracked down on the mufflers. They have really stringent rules. And if you're driving around like that, they're going to find a way to stop you. Other communities are a little bit more hands off. they feel maybe, it's not right to be that tough on those issues. So I can show you some examples of different communities that have done different things. It's up to the board as to whether or not it's something you guys would want to pursue.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Any questions on that? You want corporate counsel to bring something? I mean, normally an officer could hear it, if they hear the straight pipes, if they hear the mufflers, they can pull them over, issue the inspection required, the infractions and stuff like that, send them into DMV to get them straightened out. Do we want to go above and beyond? I mean, whatever the pleasure of the board is.
See what it is. But like you said, I can do it first.
Wait till we see it. Wait till I
Well, that's what I want to, that's what I'm
understood
saying.
Attorney,
but-
I understood Attorney Marini to say he was gonna draft a few things and bring them back to the board.
Right, if you want to go above and beyond what the state statute has already.
Like exploring what they do in some other communities. So maybe I'll give you some ordinances that exist in some other areas. That way you can, for your information, at the very least, see what
case
ways
studies.
there might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you want, Barb?
Well, I thought that's what he was saying. I mean, that would make sense because some, individuals don't know what the state
All right.
statute says. They don't know what another ordinance may be. So to see it is
All right.
helpful.
So we'll have corporate
I'll put
counsel
that together.
bring something in, hopefully next meeting, if not, within the next couple of
But now
meetings.
you guys have meetings every week, so.
All right, number 8, unfinished business. Dave, are you on, Fire Marshal? Thought he was gonna call in. All right, Fire Marshal offer reorganization. You've had everything, the packet, is there
No,
anything?
Mayor, Mayor, it's Barbara, and I don't know, I guess Dave isn't there, but we received today from Walter at 413, which I'm assuming came through with conjunction with Dave, but of the discussions we had last month about what the board, the changes that were to be made and encompassed in this ordinance, and I don't believe that it's actually what we discussed last month. I went through it and made the changes that I believe were what we all discussed with Dave. So I don't know if it's easier if we're going to do this on Monday. I mean, I could read it into the record, or it's not a lot. It's more towards the end, or
Well-
I don't have a Word document of it. I have a PDF of it. I could, what I saw was the differences and try to get it done tomorrow so that we have it for Monday.
Well-
I'll make a point to get it done.
Maybe the
It's
best
good.
thing to do is if you have that document and you submit it over to mayor's office, I could take it. We could have basically the 2 documents. So there could be a side by side for the board Monday. So you see what that initial version is and what it is with those changes incorporated in. Was it at the last meeting that you go through all the changes? That way we can
We
kind of
did,
compare it?
yeah.
Okay.
We had a discussion, but what was written up,
Not
what
what
was
it,
sent to us today
based
by
on it.
Walter is not what we discussed. I mean, it's different. Let's put it this way. It's different.
so fortunately,
you know.
yeah, we have that extra lead
can
in
you guys-
time. So
Can you guys hear
if
me?
you could,
Who's that?
Hello?
Hi, Dave.
Hi, yeah, I saw that I was muted by the host, so I unmuted myself, but yes, I am here.
Okay,
Hi, Dave.
So I'm available for any questions.
just to wrap up
David.
our last issue,
Yeah.
Barbara, if
Okay.
you can send mayor's office that over the weekend, I'll take a look at that, put it side by side with the other one. Just look back at the meeting to make sure we didn't miss anything. And then you'll have it. So it's gonna be Monday night, the meeting?
Yeah.
So you guys are okay with those documents coming in Monday during the day?
That's not like, because we were fine, it was just gonna be changes.
Yeah.
The changes made, and we were good.
Yep,
Yeah.
so it should be, we should be on course for getting that and making sure we have all changes represented in that Monday night meeting.
You understand that, Dave?
Not really. I think I only have one that I submitted. That's the one that I want to go with. And
All right,
that
well, let
is,
me ask you, Dave, then.
Yes.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Dave. Did did you put in the dollar amounts specifically into the ordinance?
I
Like
put
the
a
hourly
dollar,
rate
an hourly rate. Yes, I did.
into but we discussed that last month about,
And I got a pretty much a 50-50 split on how it was, people wanted it to be.
from
And,
who? I mean, 50-50 from who? We had a discussion last month. Well, I'm
Yeah.
not arguing. I thought
from this board, some people said that the dollar should be in there. Others said that it should not. So I sent in 2 drafts. Now, I guess putting
We
it
got
in the
one.
order, you got one with the hours in it.
We got one today at 4:13
Yes, with the hours in it.
with the hours in it and some other language that it's, other language just that probably should not be in it. But
Can you be more specific on that? That should
well,
not be in it?
but
Well, maybe before,
I could, but
to kind of make it
Yeah, go
simple,
ahead,
since we
John.
have a little extra time, maybe if you could take a look between today and tomorrow afternoon at the document that's marked in tonight as the latest, right? And confirm whether or not that is your, interpretation as the finalized version. That way we could have clarity from you.
The one that I have in my hand right now should be one that you have in your hands right now is my final
We don't have
draft.
anything. We didn't receive anything till, I guess, till 4:30, but not all of us received the email.
Okay, well, there,
We get it wrapped up by Monday. If we
Yeah,
get to
we'll take
straighten
a
out.
look and get it wrapped up Monday.
The email I got was only 1 page, but on the document, it said there was 3 pages, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, all right, well, I can appreciate that, but with all due respect, this keeps getting bumped month to month. And we're in dire,
The good news is we're on for Monday with the meeting. So either way, we can wrap this up Monday, which is just a couple days, couple business days at least. Let's just verify you're looking at the same thing they're looking at, right? So maybe tomorrow, we'll have a correspondence through your office just to make sure that's good to go. And then Barbara, you can send along what you have. If there's a comparison to be made, we just make sure we're all on the same page as to what he's recommending.
well, because I thought it was not what we discussed last month at the meeting, but I have a PDF version, John, so I don't have a Word document. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time that I've done for 14 years on this board. I don't have it, honestly, but if I had a Word document, I could put it in. So what I'll do is I'll print it out, what was sent. And again, I didn't know, I happened to see it because I was home today for the email and I printed it out. I'll print it out again and I'll write on it what I know, what it says, what I would propose that it should say based on conversations with the fire marshal and the rest of the board last month. So, it's not a done deal. It's just, suggestions of which I thought was what our discussion was. But
that's fine. I just cannot overemphasize the need to get both this ordinance and this budget approved, because I did 2 inspections today at 2 very large multifamily houses, and I was appalled. There was not I can count the number of working smoke detectors on one hand out of a 20-unit apartment with children in it. I didn't feel safe leaving there. That place has not been inspected since 2018. There were multiple apartments next to each other with not one single working smoke detector in it. And they all had small children. And that was just 2 out of the 4 I did today. This is becoming a serious issue and it cannot be delayed or messed around. We are way behind and this is a liability. If there was a fire in that building at any time since 2018, I certainly know that I do not want my name associated with it. And I'm sure the city of Derby does not want their name associated with it. But that is a disaster waiting to happen. And there are more. And I've told you that, our new program, we're updating our inspections. We did 25 again last month, but we're finding violations at every single one of them. And I cannot do it alone. So again, with all due respect, the Board of Aldermen and whoever else is involved, taxation is apprentice or purchasing, and we need to come to an agreement soon, or this is going to be a serious issue.
Thank you, Dave.
Dave, it's Barbara. I just want to say this to you, and I said it to you the day I met you out at City Hall, and I introduced myself to you.
Yes, I remember that well.
I'm not here to give you a hard time. Believe me, I was a fire commissioner for 4 years. I've lived here all my life. I know what this city is. I know the people who give what to this city. What my intention and always been is what's in the best interest of what you need to run your office. I think by and just let me say this 2 sentences, and you can think about it till Monday. I don't think you should strap yourself to an hourly rate or a salary in an ordinance for yourself or any other position in your department. That causes a problem. You could say they're going to get a salary. You come once a year to the Board of Aldermen if you need to change that salary, but you should not tie yourself to a dollar number. That's one of the things. And being an attorney, being able to interpret it, that's how I see it. I don't want you to be in a position that you're stuck. It may make it better that it's general terms, but we're here to help you. We're not here to hinder you.
Okay,
That's it. That's it.
Again, I got other opinions that, said differently, that we need to have some type of baseline or reference to the salary.
Well,
Again,
you could do that when you present it to the board. I mean, that's when you can have an ordinance that it's approved without a dollar number in it. Monday. Next item is we make a motion to set the salary at this point for this fiscal year. Next year could be different. So you tie yourself putting it into the ordinance. That's what I'm saying to you. That kind of makes sense.
That's why I wrote 2 of them. And
Okay.
and again, I just not have an agreement from the entire board of how it should be presented with this all.
Well, it'll be voted on.
All right, so we'll merge it into
It'll be
one
voted
and
on
get this
by
done Monday night.
Yeah.
You do now.
So we're gonna merge it into one and get it back to you guys on Monday. All right,
Oh.
any other discussion? All right, we're gonna move on to new business. Tax refunds, push that off till Monday. Generator donation. Gary, sorry. Commissioner.
Put your couple down more, but he did the trade.
Let me get the tape up.
Yeah.
So I believe you all have a letter that I sent to be distributed. Just quick history. The Griffin Hospital purchased the old Derby nursing property several years ago. They've since demolished the building. But prior to them demolishing the building, they graciously allowed the Derby Fire Department and the Ansonia Fire Department, for that matter, to drill at the building. And while there, we noticed there was a very large emergency generator that was used to power the old nursing facility. We approached the hospital and, through the help of a certain counsel at the hospital and Mr. Charmel and Mr. Burnett, I believe his name was, of the facilities, they arranged for us to the hospital to donate that to the city, to us, the City of Derby Fire Department. The intent that I always had with that generator is it's a huge generator. It's going to power much more. It's designed to power much more than any one of our firehouses. We're only looking to put generators that are firehouses. So in the time interim, it's just sat in storage. So the first order of business is the aldermen obviously have control over all the properties and vehicles in the city, so I'm asking this board to accept the generator as to the city of Derby. And then the second part is, we've kind of stumbled into a deal for use generators. One of our members in the fire department, who has a private business of his own, was talking to this gentleman who's located in Texas, deals in used equipment. And during the course of their conversation, it was learned that this gentleman also deals in used generators specifically. So our member had some familiarity with it, spoke to him and forwarded his contact to me. And this gentleman is very interested in purchasing this generator from the city of Derby. I don't want to say the amount because if I'm going to ask you to waive it, but in case it's not fair that the number be out. I guess we have to do that in executive session when the time comes. But he's looking to give us I believe a more than fair market value for the generator. And those funds, I would ask, once they came, they would be in the city's hands prior to the generator leaving the city, of course. I would ask the tax board to place those funds in a working balance or special working balance for use in a capital plan, so that we can, one of the components of the fire department capital plan is to set up generator purchases over a number of years. And this money is a seed money for that. So it's a kind of a long story to get to a short question. One, to ask the board, and I know you can't do it tonight, but ask the board to accept the generator. It's a 2003 generator. It could probably power half of East Derby, and it would cost us a ton of money to even wire the thing to use it. So I get ready. Well, we could be done, but
Might not work.
yeah. But I think I believe that this is the best route for us to go with it. Most beneficial use of it is a monetary value. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Any questions? Good job, Karen.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes. We'll do that. Yes, sir.
The gentleman earlier said about the fire trucks being out of service. That's not true. Everything's in service in the city of Derby right now.
Thank you, Commissioner. Minutes, we'll push that off to Monday, 10, German. Rob?
Sorry, motion to adjourn at 8:39.
Excellent. Second?
A second.
All in favor? Thank you. Everybody have a good night. Drive safe. I think there's construction.
Everybody, welcome to my dark basement. I'm Eugene Driscoll of valleyindy.org, and that was the April 13th meeting of the Derby Board of Aldermen and Alderwomen. There was just real quickly there at the very end of the meeting, there was a discussion of getting a generator donated, and the generator's apparently worth a lot of money. And there was concern about discussing the price of the generator in public. I wasn't following along 1,000%. And the suggestion was that maybe we could talk about that in executive session. Just for the record, for anybody out there, you can't do that. That would have to be a public discussion. It wasn't much of a thing, Kevin. I'm sort of splitting hairs. It was just something that jumped out on me. They're possibly getting a donation of a very expensive generator. But in Connecticut, like information documents, it's assumed to be public. This is my public service announcement for the day. In Connecticut, like documents are assumed to be public. If you ask the government for a document, it doesn't mean that they produce it right away, but it's assumed to be public unless they can cite a specific example from the FOI Act that allows it to be exempt from the Freedom of Information Act. And yeah, I think that was just a misstatement by the fire commissioner there. But other than that, I mean, you heard a little bit of not controversy, but there was concern at the beginning of the meeting. It turned out the agenda for that meeting had the wrong date on it. So there was some discussion at the very start of the meeting. Can we even have this meeting if we have the wrong date on our agenda? Corporation Counsel John Marini was of the opinion that, well, it's a regularly scheduled meeting. We set the agenda, or we set the schedule of meetings at the beginning of the year. We always hold the meeting at this time and date every month. So even though, yes, there was a typo on the agenda, if someone were to file a complaint with the FOI Act or the FOI Commission, it could be defended on the grounds that it's just a simple mistake. I was looking at some FOI decisions on that, and I found a decision from 2019 where it was a whole series of complaints, FOI complaints against a quasi public agency, and one of them was the agenda had the wrong date, and the FOI Commission said, yes, that's wrong, violation of the FOI Act, but not intent. It was basically a mistake. So they just didn't even get a wag of the finger. So that was that. So they didn't actually take action on anything tonight. They're going to meet again Monday for a special meeting. And a special meeting is just a meeting that's not regularly scheduled. In January, the Board of Aldermen sets their meetings for the entire year. If they deviate from that schedule, it's called a special meeting. So that agenda will get out shortly, I'm sure. You saw the discussion or heard the discussion about having kayak rentals at O'Sullivan's Island. The board seemed to embrace that. It's $1 lease. It's Scoot and Paddle, which was formerly on Roosevelt Drive. They want to set up some trailers or temporary structures on O'Sullivan's Island, which is like where the Housatonic and Naugatuck River meet, to rent some kayaks and possibly bicycles as well. So, yeah, that was something. They were talking about Hogs Island too, which is like the end of O'Sullivan's Island. I always think of the whole place as O'Sullivan's Island, but John Marine, the Corporation Counsel, said it looks like the state owns that. So Derby did have a thing where they were giving out permits to the boat ramp under Route 8, which is near everything we're talking about here, right near the Greenway and O'Sullivan's Island. So that's owned by the DOT though, and the DOT came down and said, hey, you're giving out permits and letting people using this boat ramp where it's state property, and we don't want the public using our boat ramp. That can't be done. So that's what closed that. I know a lot of people, I saw a comment on YouTube the other day. That's what actually closed that boat ramp. It was the city of Derby mistakenly thought they owned it. So obviously they don't want to get into that kind of mistake again. There was a long presentation about putting lights on the Greenway. I was a little confused as to what the cost would be. It would be a grant application to Community Challenges Grant, which is, you heard Roger Solway, the city's economic development director, say that is a funding source, a grant source. I mean, that's taxpayer money. Grants are taxpayer money, but it's at the state level for distressed municipalities, of which Derby and Ansonia are members. But it said the grants are from $1 million to $10 million. I think one problem that Derby has and Ansonia has often is that, yes, we're distressed municipalities, but we're not Bridgeport, we're not Waterbury, we're not as large as the other communities. So I get press releases all the time, and sometimes it's frustrating because it always seems to be not Derby or Ansonia getting those large grants. Maybe I'm editorializing there, but it seemed like the cost would maybe be $250,000 to put lights on the Greenway and have Wi-Fi. I was a little confused as whether they're going to put security cameras there too of some kind, because I know that's been a concern on the Greenway. So we'll see what happens there. Barbara DeGennaro, Alderwoman Barbara DeGennaro, who is an attorney, she raised the point that, okay, we need to put this out to bid. We can't just, and that's of course the law and the Derby Charter. You can't just give a contract to who you want. It has to go through a formal process. The other thing that was of note, and maybe this is a little inside baseball, you had Derby has this financial software they've been using, and at last month's meeting, the city's the city's deputy finance director spoke at length about the problems she has with the city's financial software. And there was a move by the mayor's office and the assistant finance director or deputy finance director, I hope I'm not getting the title incorrect, but you know what I mean, to use this other company. And the company that is being used now, I don't want to get their names wrong, so I'm not saying it. I don't want to get myself sued. They felt the whole thing was unfair. And there's also some pushback from Alderman Ron Sill about possibly getting another company in there. He wanted that put out to bid, I believe he was saying. He was concerned. But then it turned out there's only really 2 companies in the state of Connecticut that do this. So, but then it looks like that the company that's currently employed, what ended up happening there, the alderman, despite the presentation by the deputy finance director, opted to stay with the same company, right? I know this is really inside baseball, but it gives you a little insight as to some of the, not turmoil, but conflict that's happening within Derby government right now. So you had the deputy finance director saying we should use this other company, alderman and the mayor's office saying we should use this other company. And then the alderman voted, no, we're going to stick with the company we've been using for 30 years. Then at some point between that meeting and this meeting, the city's corporation council wrote a letter to the current financial software company that the city is using, that the assistant director, finance director did not want to use, saying like, we're not renewing the contract. So that might be something that's bubbling up in there's sort of an endless series of fighting between the mayor's office and other factions on the board of aldermen, I think. So that's what I pulled out of that meeting. I really wasn't taking notes. It's Thursday. I'm old. There's a lot going on, and I paid attention as much as I could. But this video is also on valleyindy.org if you want to watch it there. I do have a story right now. Gene Falbo Sosnovich wrote a story about this new group that's being formed to sort of relaunch the effort to renovate the Sterling Opera House. So if you go to valleyindy.org right now, you can read about that. I guess they're saying they're going to meet again Monday and actually formally appoint members. There was one part of the story I was a little confused about. Oh, there's one watcher. So that's literally me on my other computer watching this right now. So I'm going to shut up because what's the point of going on? But thank you all for joining us. There was a couple of people. I know it's audio only. What that was, it's a Zoom meeting, right? It's not a Zoom meeting. It was an in-person meeting, but the city carries it on Zoom, but it's just one cell phone in the room picking up the audio. So depending on where that cell phone is placed in relation to the speaker, it can be hard to hear. I would love it if this is totally selfish, but if all the towns could get aboard with figuring out how to put all their meetings online, and then we could stream them all, because these do get views, believe it or not. Kevin says, thank you, Eugene. I appreciate all you do. I appreciate you, Kevin. You're like the OG Valley Indie reader. I really appreciate you. Thanks for keeping me company tonight. And hey, tomorrow's Friday, everybody. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather, although it's a little too hot for my obese taste. But thank you so much and take care.